And good afternoon, everyone. This is State of the Arts NYC, and I am your host, Savannah Bailey-McClain. And I am so thrilled that we have Coby Kennedy in the studio. Welcome, Coby.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I,
Thank
I got to see your works down in Chelsea
you. Mm.
at C24 Gallery.
Hmm.
I want to give a shout out to Deborah. She was very
Oh
helpful.
yeah.
And I was very impressed because you were trying to present Afrofuturism. But it's not just that you're presenting Afrofuturism. You have your own take on it, which I like very, very much. Now, when I think of Afrofuturism, and I even looked it up, it says it's a movement in literature, music, art, featuring futuristic or science fiction themes and black history and culture.
Yes.
But you have taken it to a different level. When I got to see particularly some of your older works, I was like, wow, this is mind blowing.
Hey, thank you.
It's like a mixture of Black Panther, Jordan Peele. I was like, you really got it going on.
Hey, thank you.
But
Thank
your
you.
background, too, that led you to your artwork is just as fascinating. First of all, okay, I love the fact that you were born and raised in D.C.,
Yes, absolutely.
and your father was the dean of art?
The dean of the art department at Howard University.
Isn't
Yeah.
that something?
It was wild. It was wild. Yeah, it was. I mean, it's a lot. Like, I realized. When was it? I realized it must have been about 10 years ago that I grew up in a bubble. I grew up in an artist bubble. I thought everybody grew up with artist parents. I thought everybody broke out into song in any random part of the day, like on that show Fame, like that. I thought that was everybody's life because all my friends were artists. All my parents' friends were artists. My parents, so I thought everybody at 6 years old, was doing nude drawing classes in college with like the college seniors and everything. But
But the
yeah, it was special.
steepness in history,
Yeah.
Howard University,
Oh, yeah.
you had to
Yeah.
have been connected to that as
Very
well.
much so. Very much so. It's like, I came up in the middle of the Black Arts movement. My parents were big parts of that, and that was it. It's like you don't. It's like when things are going on, you don't realize they're happening until much later. And I look back, I remember, and not just that, but DC. I remember. Black Flag posters and Bad Brains posters because that's back when they were playing down there, and I remember all this historical, big time historical. I feel like Forrest Gump. I feel like I just found myself in these places where these things were happening. DC in the '80s. It was just it, and Black DC in the '80s when DC was still black.
Yeah. Chocolate City.
Chocolate City in a big way.
Yeah. And
yeah.
now it's changed quite a bit, hasn't it?
It's vastly. I mean, I love DC to death. It's so strange going back because I remember at one point, seeing white people walking through Shaw was just weird to me. Leroy Park, it was stunning because I remember we were on an alleyway, and my house was like the crack heron corner that everybody would sell from, and we had to get them off of there. And then we had the National Guard came out to my block. We had like APC carriers and like full on soldiers with M16s out there. It was wild, and so it's very different now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but just as vibrant.
Well, I wanted to bring that up because when I found out that you were connected to Howard
Yeah.
growing up, I'm saying no wonder your art is so political because your family was so connected to that history, American history.
Yeah.
And then really, you graduated from, Pratt, and then you go to Japan.
First graduated from Duke Ellington School of the Arts, high school.
Okay.
So that's everybody that comes out of Duke, like they list that first.
Okay, it's that special.
It is fame. I remember
Debbie Allen.
Debbie Allen was a huge part of making that. And and then I went to Pratt, and and then it was Japan. Off to Japan for almost a decade.
Right.
Yeah.
But you didn't just go to Pratt. You went for industrial design.
Yes.
See, now that's different. You know, a
Yeah.
lot of people don't understand the
Right.
importance of that.
Yeah.
You really learned industrial design before you went to Japan.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. I actually got hired out of. I went to do industrial design. I majored in car design, and because I grew up on Miami Vice, so I was like, I'm all about Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and so I did that, and then I got picked by. We did a sponsor project with Honda, and Honda was like, "We want that guy," and they brought me out, and I started working for Honda, then worked for this other company, then started my own car design company with my partner Paolo Grazioli, and moved to Italy and did proposals for Alfa Romeo, Ferrari. We were about to redesign the entire line of Di Tommaso before they went under, the classic Di Tommaso Panteras. So there was that. But the whole time I was like the artist, the fine artist, designer, type of designer. In car design, they talk about like there are two types of car designers: those that are gearheads and those that are like the artsy.
Okay. You were definitely the artsy.
Yeah, yeah.
Then you come back, and then you go to Columbia.
Yeah. I came back, and we were at Scope Art Fair during Armory Fair week, and we came out, and my MWB, my Might As Well Be brother, Hank. He was.
Oh, you talking about Hank Willis Thomas?
Yeah, this is back when he was first blowing up, like when he was blowing up. And he said, "How do you like all the stuff in there?" I was really cocky. I was like, "Man, I could paint most of that, with my eyes closed." And he basically double dog dared me to just do art full time. I've been doing art since birth. I thought everybody else did it.
Okay.
But he was saying, go for it. Make a career out of it. It's like you hate what happens in the industrial design world anyway. All your ideas get watered down. And I thought to myself, to make it my profession to do something where I have the potential to get my concepts and ideas and everything that I feel out there, unfettered, is great. And so I jumped in with both feet. Yeah.
You did, because when I looked at some of your artwork, and we'll get to the artwork you're presenting now in Chelsea in a bit, but when I saw your artwork, I was just blown away. For me personally, I'm more a science fiction fan. I love science fiction, fantasy. That's me. Star Wars, Star Trek, all of that. Deep Space Nine, all of that. I'm down for that.
I felt it when I came in. Yeah.
Down for that.
Okay.
Horror, it depends. Some of the old school horror, okay, like Vincent Price and all of that, those are good. Those are good. But Jordan Peele has taken horror to a whole different level. And so, his is very psychological, deep, makes you really think, doppelgangers, and all of these other aspects that you never thought about. So when I saw what you were trying to do with some of your works, and then how you added the politics to it, because see, I love the Jimmy Crow and the imaginary thug. Oh man, I got blown away. When I saw that, I was like, look what he's doing. Because you took Afrofuturism to a whole different level. You were like, okay, I'm going to take all this anger, all of this rage, and I'm going to, repurpose it so we can create a future that we can identify with. And I just thought it was great.
Hey, thank you.
What made you think about all of that stuff?
My mom. I blame everything on my mom. Well, I blame everything on my mom and Miami Vice, because those were the two things I learned about the world, right? But I was 6 years old, and I'm standing on the front of our porch right across from 605 Gresham Place, right across from Howard University, from the field. I remember, bright sunny day. And I asked my mom, I was like, "Mom, are there monsters in the world?" And she was holding my 2-year-old brother. She was like, yes, there are. I remember it was paraphrased because I didn't know these words, but I thought that is some effed up ish to drop on a 6-year-old. I remember feeling that, like, it's mess. How could you say that, right? And she was like, "Well, look, Coby, you have to understand. If you were from a place that didn't have horses, and you came here and you saw a horse, you would think that horse is a monster." I was like,
Okay.
In that, she just dumped the entire gist of relativity in my lap.
Mm-hmm.
And from that point on, she destroyed any common sense I would have. So I had, because I feel like common sense is just us agreeing on what things are, and I never agreed on what things are. I was like, there's so much more to it. And so for me, everything has always been, yeah, but, or what it, not, what if, but, and what? What's the reality behind it? Because nothing ever made sense. American never made sense. Like when I was 6, also, I was like, we talk English, but why don't we talk American? What's English? And then it was like, oh, English, oh, colonization. Oh, so this isn't what the country that we think it is anyway. It's this place is based off of genocide and all this other stuff. As a kid, I was thinking this, and so that just developed into like the idea of.
It's me.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
so sorry.
That's okay.
Davon, why don't you take this? I think we have a lost guest, and she's trying
True.
to figure out how to get here.
True.
But
Yeah, that just developed into my just stance on stuff. Like you can't hold back. My mom always said she was like the worst thing you could do is lie to somebody. And so I've always been interested in the truth that's behind the veiled curtains.
like the Wizard of Oz.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And it all started with that day. And so in my work, there's a lot of themes that find their way into my work, but the biggest thing behind everything is me pulling back that curtain so that the viewer can see some of the things that are really going on in our country, on our planet, in our universe, in our existence. I've been really lucky traveling the world and having access to parts of societies that people in those societies don't even get to. And learning some things that not a lot of people pay attention to. So, yeah.
I guess that's quite frankly, that is good because for a lot of black people, they don't get to go beyond.
Yeah.
Okay, where they live, they don't travel as much. They're too busy grinding out a day-to-day existence to appreciate that. So that is a luxury to be able to, to go to Italy.
Yeah.
My name's Italian. My mother gave me an Italian name,
Boom,
but
right.
she never went to Italy.
Right.
And so, but the point is, at least they were thinking, she and my aunt was thinking outside of the box, even though they didn't get there.
Exactly.
And so when I saw some of your works, it was just like, wow.
That's why I wanted to, being in the black arts world, I grew up very, avant-garde was normal to me.
Okay.
And then when I joined the mainstream commercial fine art market, the black mainstream commercial fine art market, I was just surprised how my barometer for avant-garde was much closer than a lot of people's ideas of what avant-garde is. So for me, it was for me, it was normal to throw everything at the wall, and then go beyond the wall. That was just what you do. And I realized once I got into the business that it's more about language. It's more about if you care about if an artist cares about connecting with an audience and connecting with a wide audience, it's about, for me, it was about molding the language I was using into something that could give people access.
You do offer access differently. Most work, and I don't say black art per se, I just say art. I do curate art. And I think sometimes we're put in some sort of box when we say black art because then there's no possibilities of anything beyond figurative work.
Right.
Most artists of color, particularly black artists, just do figurative work. But yours is different. It is abstract, and it's also, you can see the design that's in it, and you use different materials. Like, you don't use canvas.
Right.
You use Kevlar.
Yeah.
And when I heard an interview you did explaining that, it blew me away about how it's about protecting black folks.
Yes.
Explain that to us. And we're going to show some of those images of that Kevlar.
I started using Kevlar a while ago because I stopped using canvas. I've always been I've always admired empire, and so when I was doing paintings, I took a hint off of classical European painting, and there's so many reasons. I mean, messed up reasons, for the subject matter, for the style of painting, for this, that, and the other. And it all had to do with empire, not just colonialization, but just empire from Egypt to Rome to America, United States, all of that. And so I would do the canvases, I'd sand them down super smooth, I'd do all these old Caravaggio techniques and this and that. And at a certain point, I wanted to tell the story through the material itself instead, in a different way, And, all these themes find their way into my work. And I wanted to, speaking the language, I wanted to say more with less. And so I started using Kevlar as canvas because it's such a loaded material. My experience with it comes in from middle school and high school when, bulletproof vests started showing up in our neighborhoods in D.C. We knew they were there. People would wear them, and it became this mythical thing, Davon over Northeast, that whole crew, they robbed the vest, and like, what? It was like these whispers and everything, and sometimes if you're in the right place at the right time, you'd see it, and I remember everybody was trying to get their hands on one, and it was, we grew up with them in films and movies. I'm a film and movie nerd, like I live and breathe it. And so I decided to make that the material. I'm painting on Kevlar. What am I going to use? I'm going to use industrial materials, like steel, resin, rust, because I can do the same things and like take it even further visually. And the materials can speak for themselves in these different ways.
Why don't we show some of these images of your artwork on Kevlar? Because that's what I saw at C24. The first images of you. And your artwork, and then we start to see these other sort of abstract works, which are kind of tame, given how you can really...
Thank you.
They really are tame, because I love what you did with Backbone. I think it was called Backbone. Or you created a backbone with the Kevlar, and you added the metal in it, and you were describing what that meant. And I was just like, this guy really, he gets there. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, about Backbone or the current work?
Well, both, because they're similar in many ways.
Yeah, I like crossing things over. I like paintings that are sculptures, sculptures that are paintings. I like that middle ground. I like that middle ground of the Venn diagram where the themes match, for both, And the Kevlar worked its way into my paintings. It worked its way into my sculptures. It worked its way into my hybrids. The piece that's in that picture behind me over at C24, it is massive. It's an orifice through which, it's an oculus, through which the ancestors view us. That theme, we are our ancestors' greatest dreams. And then it's the flip, how would they look at you? How would they really look at you? With the current state of things and what you're doing. And so I made this oculus, this eye that looks at you. And at the same time, it's a cervix. The whole thing is made out of, and it's bulletproof. It's all made out of bulletproof ballistic grade Kevlar, coated in resin, and it also serves as a monolith. It harkens to history and diaspora. Diaspora is a huge part of everything that I do, and it becomes about protecting the diaspora.
Yes, that's what I got that from you, and that's where that sci-fi comes in, because to me, that's the futuristic element of your work. You're getting us to this place where let's go beyond what we're living every day. We need protection, and if I have to use the Kevlar, then that's what I will do. I will use the Kevlar to get us there. And I was just like, who thinks about this? This is great. This is phenomenal.
It hits me because I remember Kendrick Lamar in the beginning of I think it's in the beginning of All Right when he talks about you find yourself screaming in a hotel room. You know, for me, he was referring to police brutality and
Yes.
us digesting the sheer weight of it.
Yes.
It's like I remember when oh man, his name misses me right now, but he died on Facebook Live. I think he got shot.
Oh, the guy in Minneapolis, Minnesota, with the girlfriend next
with the
to
girlfriend
him.
right next to him and the kid in the car.
Yes.
I remember I was flipping through Facebook and it just came up and it was live.
Yeah.
And I was that Kendrick Lamar lyric. I was in my house screaming because I was watching this happen live, and it shook me like so hard. And from that point on, like my work was embedded in just the reality of us realizing the reality.
Like Thuggin'
That's where the Thuggin'
Oh man, that
Yeah.
was genius. Thuggin' Arts. I was like,
came from. Yeah.
this guy
Thank
really
you.
could take us places.
Yeah,
I felt it. I felt the sci-fi. I felt the futuristic. I was like, that is genius in how you repurpose the word thug
Yeah.
to have a whole new meaning. Why don't you share with us about that?
You can thank Common, Barack, and Fox News for that. Because if you remember, like Common was invited to the White House to perform, and Obama's White House, and everybody flipped out. How can you invite this thug rapper to our White House, and it was like this thug rapper to our White House, you know, like that. And the entire Black Youth Nation was like, that's Common.
He's kind of tame.
Yeah, he's vegetarian. He knits his own hats. He dates Erykah Badu. It's like he's the best representation.
Yes.
You call him a thug. And so that's when it really hit. I mean, we knew it, but it really hit. Like it's them creating the myth. They're creating myths, you know, just like cowboys. You know, cowboys never existed like they did in the movies. It's this myth, you know, the myth of the thug. And the Thuggin' Out came from, okay, you're creating this myth. I'm going to show you what you've made. I'm going to show us how they see us. And I'm going to show you what you see when you see me. A 5-story tall, 6 black-armed, huge, pachydermic, one-eye monocular, you know, beast that just roams the urban landscape, dishing out genocide and self-defeating behavior. Like, that's the myth. And just like Godzilla, you know, it's going to represent these things, but also at times become a friend to us. You know, it's going to protect us because what came first, the chicken or the egg? What came first, the thug or the thuggernaut? You know, it's like, Zorro or Robin Hood. You know, who really serves the people?
Right.
You know, who's looking out? Who's actually looking out for the hood in these ways, and with who you call the thug? Yeah.
So, what are you planning to do? You know, I know you got your show up now, but is there something else you have brewing right now?
Yes. Top secret, we have some really good programming coming up for the show in the next month, and I have my solo show coming up next year.
Okay.
Sometime in the new year, and some other stuff that I gotta keep on the wraps.
I hope you will keep something that we're trying to do next year in mind with outdoor sculpture because I was just like, when I saw the box that you did in honor of Khalif Browder, that really, I mean, that touched my heart because I felt like a lot of people need to see that, not just young people. People in general need to see this, to see what this country does to its own citizens.
Yeah.
Because we need to change things, and we're not going in a very good direction because there's a lack of communication, there's a lack of awareness. So,
yeah, that individual I was talking about before that had me screaming in my room while I watched him die, that was Philando Castile.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was heartbreaking.
Yes.
And then Khalif's story, you know, I would hear a little bit about it here and there, and then I dug into it, and that feeling of that, not just incarceration, but that feeling of being hunted, you know, that just repeated itself through his life, you know, Hunted in the initial that he was blamed for this thing that
He didn't do.
didn't do. Hunted once he was incarcerated, like in there with the wolves. He was this very likable kid. He was a kid, and to be thrown in with the wolves, and for people outside of that world that have never been locked up, never been in that situation, to see the video of what that's like for him, what it was like for him. And when he was in that hallway, just fending off multiple, attackers, and just I think a lot of people connected with him in his eyes and in his body, that feeling of just being so beyond with no control, no agency.
Right.
This is your life now. And people that have had moments like that, it connected me to times that people tried to kill me.
Yeah.
I've had multiple times in multiple countries of people trying to kill me on knives, AK-47s. And it's that feeling of helplessness that just hit me like a brick. And I felt like I needed to show. My work is all about taking, not preaching to people, not telling them what they need to do, but showing them different perspectives, taking their head and turning like, look at that, and then do what they do with it, showing them what, to the best of my abilities, what it feels like to live for that long, for them to imagine living that long in a box, like you are in a box. Someone put you in a box. Someone took all your agency away and said, no, this is, no, this is what you're doing. That's it. This is your life now. And that was that inspired me to make the box, the public sculpture.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say thank you so very, very much for coming out here
my
to
pleasure.
our studio.
Absolutely.
Once I really start to get to know you, I was just like, I got to have him here. I really did.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank you so very, very much. And I hope we can work together too.
I would love to. And I would love to have lots of conversations over hot malted beverages about the stuff that we couldn't fit in today.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Hey, my pleasure.
And we're going to wrap up the show now. Thank you so much.